A battle is brewing. A battle as ancient as human life upon this earth. The battle of man against storm. From the Stone Age to the age of the atom bomb, disaster fighters have watched with apprehensive eye the waves shattering against the shore, the racing clouds in the sky, the creaking trees, knowing full well that these are the signs of the conflict ahead, the conflict they must fight endlessly and often lose. Out on the ocean, the battle is for survival. It's the crushing pressure of wave, wind, and current versus steel and a shipbuilder's art, with the life of the crew in the balance. The men who go down to the sea in sailing ships have long been the heroes of romantic song and story. When they're climbing to the top of a crazily swaying mast, or when the ocean comes aboard to swirl around them, it's plain to see the reason why. Every storm exacts its tribute. Here a tanker has been cast upon the rocks. While the pounding surf completes nature's job of destruction, rescuers work desperately on the jagged coast to pull survivors from the sea. It takes a special kind of courage to set forth in a small boat on a raging ocean that has already swept a large vessel to its doom. The vessel in question is a tanker piled up on a reef. 2 crewmen remain on board, and the disaster fighters must get to them fast, for the worst of the storm is yet to come. Seamen are rescued. Only the trip back remains. But as the gale reaches the height of its fury, oh, what a trip! Here's a modern breed of disaster fighter, the hurricane hunters. They track down incoming storms so that warnings may be issued in time. A pilot flies directly into the heart of the disturbance, carefully plotting the storm's direction and intensity from his pitching plane. He reports back his findings. 2 things are certain. A hurricane is heading this way, and as hurricanes go, this one is going to be a howling success. Who failed to heed the hurricane warnings, this is last call to head for the hills. The big blow sweeps inland, bringing some of the ocean with it. Cities usually safe from coastal storms get their taste of wind and wet. Soon not a living thing remains on the streets. This is the power and fury of weather gone wild, a hurricane at its height.
Tacoma Bridge, Washington, opened only a few months ago, was built at a cost of over $6 million. But misfortune overtakes the great structure. These are some of the most amazing pictures ever recorded by a newsreel. the actual collapse of the world's third largest suspension bridge. Only a 35-mile-an-hour wind is blowing, but this apparently sets up a rhythmic swinging of the bridge, which increases with each swing. Finally, the swinging road and the suspension cables give way and plunge into the water below. Fortunately, the only casualties were a car stalled on the bridge and a dog.
Most spectacular example of the wind's work was the mighty $6 million Tacoma Bridge, swaying in a gale as though its concrete and steel were made of rubber. A car has been abandoned, and a college professor can be seen out on the span making observations on the strange behavior of the third longest suspension bridge in the world. The professor flees for his life as Galloping Gertie's gyrations gain momentum. There she goes. Below is a sea of ice, and a ship trapped as securely as a fly in a spider's web. When the ice buckles into massive chunks, it may swallow houses on the shore. Here's an ancient ice cutter that believes in try and try again. Ah, shucks, Captain, you better get a car. The real danger comes when the jam breaks and big cakes begin racing on the swollen river toward the cities downstream. Few things can withstand the crushing pressure of ton upon ton of ice. People stand on the bridges to watch the show, but they don't stay there long. Now the ice-choked river has new ammunition. Debris from the first bridge to help weaken the structure of the second and transform it into twisted wreckage. A car caught in the span goes hurtling down. A third bridge lies ahead, biggest and strongest of the lot. The load thrust against it grows heavier and heavier. Melting ice and snow and weeks of torrential rain bring the greatest hazard of all, flood. An avalanche of water thunders downward. Levees are blasted to change its course, but to no avail. Outlying farms, houses, and stores are first to be gobbled up. A riverside factory dependent upon water power gets enough water power to put it out of commission. More congested areas are reached, and soon whole blocks are doing a disappearing act into the mud and slime-filled waters. All of man's ingenuity cannot stop this now. The flood must run its course, leaving in its wake miles of ruin. For the disaster fighters, the job is saving lives. Victims of the deluge are picked up with surprising calm. Pets are also on the rescue list, and from their miniature Noah's Ark, they look mighty grateful. The current grows more and more ugly. This flood has become a raging killer capable of sweeping to doom any living thing in its path. For one youth, a tree trunk provides a precarious refuge. With the current too strong for boats, ropes are used. Along one rope, a survivor is carried to safety. Out in those dark and swirling waters, so near and yet so far from rescue, a man and a woman are trapped on top of a car. Disaster fighters work desperately to reach them in these on-the-spot films, among the most dramatic ever photographed. But in this life-or-death battle, death wins. The car and its human burden are swept away to destruction. The flood roars on to the sea, carrying on its crest mementos of its terrible course. And so one more grim and costly battle comes to a close, to take its place in the endless annals of the disaster fighters.